Happening now, the Jamestown School District is looking at potential disciplinary changes. And the benefits of the PACT Act are showcased. Plus, an Amazonian river was granted personhood.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
Thank you for joining us at Western New York News Now. I'm Lee Kane Jr. Those stories and more are coming up, but first, a Cheektowaga man pleaded guilty before U.S. District Judge Lawrence J. Villardo to possession of child pornography involving a prepubescent minor. In June 2019, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children received a report from Microsoft Bing that one of their users uploaded an image of child pornography. Subsequent investigation traced the image to 48-year-old Michael P. Daly. On October 22, 2020, investigators executed a search warrant at Daly's residence in Cheektowaga, seizing a laptop computer, a flash drive, and an iPhone. A forensic search of all three items recovered over 200,000 images and 95 videos of child pornography. Some of the images include prepubescent minors and depictions of violence. Daly faces a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. Well, in other news, a Bloomfield, New York man has been pleaded guilty to wire fraud before Chief U.S. District Judge Elizabeth A. Wolford. Assistant U.S. Attorney Richard A. Resnick, who is handling the case, stated that between November 2020 and November 2022, 59-year-old Thomas Corsaro, acting as an investment advisor, executed a scheme to defraud 8 individual investors who invested funds with him. Instead of properly investing the funds he received, he instead deposited the funds into his personal and business bank accounts. In total, Corsaro received $1,712,469.32 from the 8 investors. He repaid $265,642.83 prior to the criminal investigation. The plea is the result of an investigation by the Federal Bureau of Investigation under the direction of Special Agent in Charge Matthew Miraglia. Corsaro is set to be sentenced on December 6, 2023 at 2 p.m. before Judge Wolford. He's facing a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. A 4th-month investigation into narcotic sales at 75 Ruggles Street in the city of Dunkirk ended with a search warrant being executed in the early morning hours of Wednesday, August 9th. Narcotics investigators from the Dunkirk Police Department, the Chautauqua County Sheriff's Office, Jamestown Police Department, and FBI Safe Streets executed the search warrant, with Dunkirk Police SRT making entry into the residence. The search led to the arrest of Antoine D. Jones, who is being charged with criminal sale of a controlled substance in the 3rd degree, criminal possession of a controlled substance in the 3rd degree, and criminal nuisance in the 1st degree. Jones was transported to the Dunkirk Police Department and was arraigned in the City of Dunkirk court. Authorities urge members of the community to report suspicious narcotics-related activity within their neighborhoods. For the Dunkirk Police Department tip line, call 716-363-0313. For the Chautauqua County Sheriff's Office Narcotics Investigators tip line, call either 800-344-8702 or 716-664-2420. For the Jamestown Police Department tip line, call 716-483-8477. Well, in other news, the start of Jamestown's fall school semester is right around the corner, and now school officials are looking at discipline in the district. Many members of the Jamestown Public School Board are questioning how state policies might affect local district disciplinary tactics. The state has not given any recommendation yet, however that could change at any time. While looking for advice on the subject, those with the Jamestown School District have mostly been speaking with lawyers on the potential monumental change.
Discipline has mostly been, in terms of student consequences, has mostly been defined by case law in the courts and commissioners' decisions on appeals from suspensions.
Yeah.
So that's how the law and the regulation gets framed.
Mm-hmm.
So rarely has it resulted in a complete change of process. So this is going to be something pretty new, I would imagine, since maybe the 80s, the 70s or 80s, since something this dramatic has come down from the state.
Yes. Other board members also cited caution when it comes to which groups are getting disciplined more. They also wanted to look over the data to see if there is a better solution to discipline than out-of-school suspension, which one board member likened to just time off school. Well, now let's get a first check of our weather forecast with Chief Forecaster Andrew Stevenson. Andrew.
So let me ask you, LJ, how does it feel to be an anchor desk?
Oh, it's a very exciting thing, you know. I mean, I've always been a behind the camera kind of guy, but hey, you got to do what you got to do, you know.
Yeah, it takes time getting used to, but you're doing pretty well.
Thank you.
I must say. All right, speaking of weather, let's take a look at the current conditions in downtown Jamestown right now. We're under partly sunny skies. 67 degrees is the current temperature at the Jamestown Airport as of the noon hour, with a west wind of 9 miles per hour, and the dew point is at 56, so it's pretty comfortable out there. First defense Doppler radar right now pretty quiet across the region. Just a few fair weather cumulus clouds popping up across the southern tier of northwestern Pennsylvania. Other than that, should have no weather hassles to deal with today. It's going to be a beautiful day out there for any outdoor activities. That will change tomorrow, however, as the NOAA Storm Prediction Center has placed the entire region from western New York down to Pennsylvania under a slight risk to see severe storms tomorrow. That is level 2 out of 5. Now, we'll have some storms in the afternoon that could contain some strong damaging winds, hail, and even a tornado risk, and I'll talk about that in the full forecast. So just keep an eye on the weather tomorrow, as we'll have the potential for some strong to severe storms tomorrow afternoon. For the almanac for today, we made it to a high of 74 degrees in the city of Jamestown yesterday. Our low for today was 62, and the records for today, 95. The record high set back in 1940, and the record low of 45 set back in 1987. So let's take a look at that first defense weather forecast. For the rest of the afternoon out there, partly to mostly sunny skies. Again, a beautiful day for any outdoor activities. Temperatures will be comfortable in the mid to upper 70s with a west wind of 8 to 10 miles per hour, although the sunset is setting earlier and earlier. We're at 8:23 for the sunset tonight. I'll have a look at that full forecast, including the severe weather potential, coming up in just a few minutes.
Andrew, thank you. Well, as WNY News Now continues, the Supreme Court has temporarily blocked an OxyContin bankruptcy deal. And later, the benefits of the PACT Act are showcased. Stay with us as WNY News Now will be right back.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first. WNY News Now is covering stories that matter to you.
15-year-old Yadiel Diaz was subject to a public humiliation stunt by a fellow student in an act of violence and bullying. Now Yadiel's mother, Raquel, has had enough.
Officials are trying to work with the county's homeless coalition to help support the homeless population locally. There are also plans in the works to build 2 new shelters.
WNY News Now, where coverage comes first. Catch your first defense forecast daily on WNY News Now.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer, plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
Honorary Forest Ranger Betty White here, lending a hand to my dear friend Smokey Bear, because for years he's only said,
"Only you can prevent wildfires."
But there's a lot more to say, like if you park your car on tall, dry grass, the hot exhaust pipe can start a wildfire. So keep the animals safe, especially the cute shirtless one. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
3-on-3 basketball returns to Jamestown, New York this summer. Collaborative Children's Solutions and partners are hosting a Gus Macker tournament August 19th and 20th. Register online at macker.com before July 31st.
The Supreme Court on Thursday temporarily blocked a nationwide settlement with OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma that would shield members of the Sackler family who own the company from civil lawsuits over the toll of opioids. My bad. Justices agreed to a request from the Biden administration to put the brakes on an agreement reached last year with state and local governments. In addition, the High Court will hear arguments before the end of the year over whether the settlement can proceed. The deal will allow the company to emerge from bankruptcy as a different entity with its profits used to fight the opioid epidemic. Members of the Sackler family would contribute up to $6 billion. However, a key component of the agreement would shield family members who are not seeking bankruptcy protection as individuals from lawsuits. The U.S. bankruptcy trustee, represented by the Justice Department, opposes releasing the Sackler family from legal liability. Lawyers for Purdue and other parties to the agreement had urged the justices to stay out of the case. We are confident in the legality of our nearly universally supported plan of reorganization and optimistic that the Supreme Court will agree, the company said in a statement following the court's actions Thursday. Even so, we are disappointed that the U.S. trustee, despite having no concrete interest in the outcome of this process, has been able to single-handedly delay billions of dollars in value that should be put to use for victim compensation, opioid crisis abatement for communities across the country, and overdose rescue medicines. Reactions from victims of the opioid crisis have been split. Ed Nager, a lawyer representing individual victims of the opioid crisis who would be in line for a piece of the settlement, said that it was a disappointment that they would have to wait longer for any compensation, but also praised the court for agreeing to hear the case so soon. They clearly see the urgency of the matter, he said. Another group of mostly parents of people who died from opioid overdoses has called for the settlement not to be accepted. Opioids have been linked to more than 70,000 fatal overdoses annually in the U.S. in recent years. Most of these are from fentanyl and other synthetic drugs, but the crisis widened in the early 2000s as OxyContin and other powerful prescription painkillers became prevalent. Well, in other news, FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried is returning to New York City for a court hearing Friday that could determine whether he will be detained in jail while he awaits trial. Prosecutors have asked the judge to revoke Bankman-Fried's bail, claiming that he tried to harass a key witness in his fraud case. His lawyers insist he shouldn't be jailed for trying to protect his reputation against a barrage of unfavorable news stories. The 31-year-old has been under house arrest at his parents' home in Palo Alto, California, since his December extradition from the Bahamas on charges that he defrauded investors in his business and illegally diverted millions of dollars worth of cryptocurrency from customers using his FTX exchange. Bankman-Fried's $250 million bail package severely restricts his internet and phone usage. 2 weeks ago, prosecutors surprised Bankman-Fried's attorneys by demanding his incarceration, saying he violated those rules by giving the New York Times the private writings of Carolyn Ellison, his former girlfriend and the ex-CEO of Alameda Research, a cryptocurrency trading hedge fund that was one of his businesses. Prosecutors maintained he was trying to sully her reputation and influence prospective jurors who might be summoned for his October trial. Ellison pleaded guilty in December to criminal charges carrying a potential penalty of 110 years in prison. She's agreed to testify against Bankman-Fried as a part of a deal that could lead to a more lenient sentence. Bankman-Fried's lawyers argued he probably failed in a quest to defend his reputation because the article cast Ellison in a sympathetic light. They also said prosecutors exaggerated the role that Bankman-Fried had in the article. They say that prosecutors were trying to get their client locked up by offering evidence consisting of innuendo, speculation, and scant facts. Since prosecutors made their detention request, U.S. District Judge Louis A. Kaplan has imposed a gag order barring public comments by people participating in the trial, including Bankman-Fried. Well, the Federal Election Commission has begun a process to potentially regulate AI-generated deepfakes ahead of the 2024 election, a move advocates say would safeguard voters against a particularly insidious form of election disinformation. The FEC's unanimous procedural vote on Thursday advances a petition asking it to regulate ads that use artificial intelligence to misrepresent political opponents as saying or doing something they didn't, a stark issue that is already being highlighted in the current 2024 GOP presidential primary. Though the circulation of convincing fake images, videos, or audio clips is not new, innovative generative AI tools are making them cheaper, easier to use, and more likely to manipulate public perception. As a result, some presidential campaigns in the 2024 race, including that of Florida GOP Governor Ron DeSantis, already are using them to persuade voters. The Republican National Committee in April released an entirely AI-generated ad meant to show the future of the United States if President Joe Biden is reelected. It employed fake but realistic photos showing boarded-up storefronts, armored military patrols in the streets, and waves of immigrants creating panic. In June, DeSantis' campaign shared an attack ad against his GOP primary opponent Donald Trump that used AI-generated images of the former president hugging infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci. Thursday's FEC meeting comes after the advocacy group Public Citizen asked the agency to clarify that an existing federal law against fraudulent misrepresentation in campaign communications applies to AI-generated deepfakes. The panel's vote shows the agency's intent to consider the question, but it will not decide whether to actually develop rules governing the ads until after a 60-day public comment window, which is likely to begin next week.
The VA is showcasing care and benefits they have delivered to their veterans since the PACT Act was signed into law 1 year ago. Due to the historic law, those at the VA are declaring care and benefits are reaching more veterans than ever before. The VA reports that more than $1.85 billion has been delivered to veterans at the fastest rate in the nation's history. They also say that over 332,000 more veterans have enrolled in VA healthcare compared to the previous year. In addition, more than 4.1 million veterans have received a free screening for toxic exposures, a critical step in catching potential life-threatening health conditions as early as possible. Veterans who apply for PACT Act benefits before August 15th can have their benefits backdated to August 10th, 2022, when the PACT Act was signed into law. More information on how the PACT Act has helped and how to apply can go to the VA's website.
Well, coming up, the death toll from the Maui wildfires has increased. And later, California has greenlit 2 robo-taxi services to operate in San Francisco. But first, we return with a look at our full weather forecast.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first. WNY News Now is covering stories that matter to you.
15-year-old Yadiel Diaz was subject to a public humiliation stunt by a fellow student in an act of violence and bullying. Now Yadiel's mother, Raquel, has had enough.
Officials are trying to work with the county's homeless coalition to help support the homeless population locally. There are also plans in the works to build 2 new shelters.
WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
3-on-3 basketball returns to Jamestown, New York this summer. Collaborative Children's Solutions and partners are hosting a Gus Macker tournament August 19th and 20th. Register online on macker.com before July 31st.
Catch your First Defense forecast daily on WNY News Now.
Fast, accurate, and everyday. First Defense weather.
Welcome back to WNY News Now. As I mentioned in the first weather, we do have some severe storms possible tomorrow. The NOAA Storm Prediction Center has pretty much placed almost the entire state of New York and Pennsylvania under a slight risk for severe storms and pretty much across much of the Northeast here tomorrow. And our main threat tomorrow will be strong damaging winds with the 15% chance that anywhere within 25 miles of any location will see strong damaging winds over 60 miles per hour across western New York and northwestern Pennsylvania. We also have a hail risk to deal with tomorrow. Same thing with the hail risk. There's a 15% chance of seeing some large hail within 25 miles of any location across western New York and Pennsylvania. We also have to deal with a slight 2% chance to see a tornado. Now, the tornado risk isn't 0, but it is small. Just a 2% chance to see a spin-up tornado within 25 miles of any location tomorrow. But again, the main threats will be the strong winds and possibly some hail. Here's what's happening across the Northeast right now. High pressure has built in, and it's going to keep the weather dry through the afternoon and the evening. But you do see off to the west our next system that's going to start to bring some showers and storms in the region early tomorrow morning and through the rest of the day. So let's time it out on future scan for the next 24 to 48 hours. For the rest of the afternoon out there, partly to mostly sunny skies, no weather hassles to deal with this afternoon. The clouds will be on the increase through the night tonight as that next system approaches the region. Have a few showers and thunderstorms early tomorrow morning as that first wave moves through. Not really expecting any severe storms with that first wave, but as that first wave passes by, we should break out into some sunshine after that, and depending on how much sunshine we do see, that could lead to the stronger thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon with that second round. Now, it won't be a total washout tomorrow afternoon with that second round, but anywhere that those storms do pop up, They do have the chance to be strong to severe, and a few showers will continue into the evening and overnight hours. And then high pressure will begin to build in by Sunday, and Sunday should be a mainly dry day out there with more partly sunny skies. Well, tonight is the Jamestown cruise in, and as I said yesterday on social media, will be a beautiful evening for that. It starts at 5 p.m., mostly sunny skies, temperatures in the lower 70s, and we should drop through the 70s into the upper 60s as the evening progresses. So if you're going downtown Jamestown, no weather hassles to deal with tonight. And now that 7-day outlook powered by Ultimate Satellite Solutions. So the strong thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon. Sunday will be mainly dry with some morning fog. Monday will be mainly dry as well, though we're going to get into another system late Monday night into Tuesday. That's going to bring some more showers and thunderstorms to the region Monday night into Tuesday. And then Wednesday should be dry, and then some more showers will be possible heading into next Thursday with temperatures generally in the 70s, although Tuesday will be a little bit cooler with highs in the upper 60s.
Andrew, thank you. Now for some headlines from across the nation. Maui residents who made desperate escapes from oncoming flames, some on foot, asked why Hawaii's famous emergency warning system didn't alert them as wildfires raced toward their homes. Hawaii emergency management records show no indication that warning sirens were triggered before devastating fires killed at least 55 people and wiped out the historic town of Lahaina. The blaze is already the state's deadliest natural disaster since a 1960 tsunami, which killed 61 people on the Big Island. Governor Josh Green warned the death toll will likely rise as search and rescue operations continue. Hawaii boasts what the state describes as the largest integrated outdoor all-hazard public safety warning system in the world, with about 400 sirens positioned across the island chain to alert people to various natural disasters and other threats. But many of Lahaina's survivors said in interviews at evacuation centers that they didn't hear any sirens and they only realized they were in danger when they saw flames or heard explosions nearby. Thomas Leonard, a 70-year-old retired mailman from Lahaina, didn't know about the fire until he smelled smoke. Power and cell phone service had both gone out earlier that day, leaving the town with no real-time information about the danger. He tried to leave in his Jeep, but had to abandon the vehicle and run to the shore when cars nearby began exploding. He hid behind a seawall for hours, the wind blowing hot ash and cinders over him. Firefighters eventually arrived and escorted Leonard and other survivors through the flames to safety. Hawaii Emergency Management Agency spokesperson Adam Weintraub told the Associated Press that the department's records don't show that Maui's warning sirens were triggered on Tuesday when the Lahaina fire began. Instead, the county used emergency alerts sent to mobile phones, televisions, and radio stations, Weintraub said. However, it is unclear whether those alerts were sent before the widespread power and cellular outages. Well, in other news, California regulators on Thursday approved an expansion that will allow 2 rival robo-taxi services to operate throughout San Francisco at all hours, despite safety worries spurred by recurring problems with unexpected stops and other erratic behavior that resulted in unmanned vehicles blocking traffic, including emergency vehicles. The state's Public Utilities Commissions voted to approve rival services from Cruise and Waymo to operate around-the-clock service. It will make San Francisco the first major U.S. city with 2 fleets of driverless vehicles competing for passengers against ride-hailing and taxi services dependent on humans to operate the cars. It is a distinction that San Francisco officials didn't want, largely because of the headaches that Cruise and Waymo have been causing in the city while testing their robo-taxis on a restricted basis during the past year. But it ended in a major victory for Cruise, a subsidy of General Motors, and Waymo, a spin-off from a secret project at Google, after spending years and billions of dollars honing a technology that they believe will revolutionize transportation. Both companies view approval of their San Francisco expansions as a major springboard to launching similar services in other congested cities that would benefit from a technology that they contend will be more reliable, convenient, and cheaper than ride-hailing and taxi services reliant on human drivers. We can't wait for more San Franciscans to experience the mobility, safety, sustainability, and accessibility benefits of full autonomy for themselves, all at the touch of a button, Waymo co-CEO Takedra Mawakana said in a blog post. During 5.5 hours of public comments at Thursday's meeting, many speakers derided the robotaxis as annoying nuisances at best and dangerous menaces at worst. Others vented their frustration about San Francisco being transformed into a tech playground and the equivalent of an ant farm for haphazard experimentation. The rising fears about the safety of the robotaxis had come into sharper focus during a preliminary hearing Monday that included a sobering appearance by San Francisco Fire Department Chief Janine Nicholson, who warned regulators that the robotaxis had been repeatedly undermining firefighters' abilities to respond to emergencies. They are still not ready for prime time because of the way they have impacted our operations, Nicholson said, during a 4-hour hearing held Monday in advance of Thursday's pivotal vote. To underscore her point, Nicholson cited 55 written reports of the robotaxis interfering with emergency responses. She said she is worried the problems will get worse if Cruise and Waymo are allowed to operate their services wherever and whenever they want in San Francisco, raising the risk of their disruptions resulting in injury, death, or the loss of property that could have been saved. Well, coming up next, an endangered Amazonian river has been granted personhood.
You're watching WNY News Now, your source for breaking news.
3-on-3 basketball returns to Jamestown, New York this summer. Collaborative Children's Solutions and partners are hosting a Gus Macker tournament August 19th and 20th. Register online at macker.com before July 31st.
If you want to speak truth to the masses, make it funny for the classes.
WNY News Now is covering stories that matter to you.
15-year-old Yadiel Diaz was subject to a public humiliation stunt by a fellow student in an act of violence and bullying. Now Yadiel's mother, Raquel, has had enough.
Officials are trying to work with the county's homeless coalition to help support the homeless population locally. There are also plans in the works to build 2 new shelters.
WNY News Now, where coverage comes first. You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
The Comey-Memon River has become the first among hundreds of Amazonian rivers to be granted personhood to protect it from encroaching deforestation. The river, named Lahe in non-indigenous maps, is vital to the Orowaram, one of 6 subgroups of the Wari people, who have inhabited the West Amazon for centuries. In June, the municipality of Guajara Miram passed a groundbreaking law proposed by an indigenous councilman that designates the Comey-Memon and its tributaries as living entities with rights, ranging from maintaining their natural flow to having the forest around them protected. This is part of a new legislative approach to protect nature that has made inroads in many parts of the world, from New Zealand to Chile. We are further organizing ourselves to fend off invaders, Councilman Francisco Orowaram, the law's proponent, told the Associated Press. We can't fight with arrows, we have to use the laws. Okay, well, are we looking for a final check of our weather, Andrew?
Final check on the weather for tonight. We have the Jamestown Cruise in tonight. You going to the Jamestown Cruise in tonight?
Oh, we'll have to see. You know, I got quite the busy schedule, I'm not going to lie. But, I mean, I would love to, you know, a lot of classic cars of all sorts, really. So there's a little something for everyone if you like cars.
You will have perfect weather for it, too. Partly sunny skies tonight. Can they ask for better weather for that? It could be raining, but the rain is going to hold off at least until tomorrow.
You're really selling it for me, Andrew. I'm not going to lie.
I'd like to go myself, but I got other things I got to do tonight. But it's not a bad time. I went there, I think last year, a couple years ago before COVID was the last time I went. It's a pretty good event out there.
Okay, yeah, and I believe it'll start around 5 and then last until 9 p.m. tonight?
Starts at 5, goes at 9. Plenty of cars to look at. Then there's plenty of vendors, too, food and other vendors. So not a bad evening out there if you're looking for something to do.
Yeah, definitely sounds like a good time. Well, that is going to do it for us today. I'd like to thank you all for watching. News continues 24/7 at WNYNewsNow.com and on our mobile app. You can download it today for free in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. We're also on Channel 716 on Roku and at channel716.com. I'm Lee Kane Jr., and I'd like to thank you for watching.